Hi, and welcome to my quick guide to endurance riding. Before we start, let's explain what it's all about. At the end of June, the club is organising a 100 or 200-mile ride. And I think talking to people, a lot of people in the club are a bit daunted, unsure whether this is a thing that they can do. And that's a pity. Back before lockdown, the club did an annual 200-mile ride. People got used to the idea. And about 30 club members did it every year and find it was perfectly feasible to ride such a big distance. But that corporate knowledge has been lost through lockdown. People lost the confidence that this is a thing that they could do, weren't quite sure how to do it. And so as a club, we're trying to get that confidence back. So what I'll do, this video is a quick guide for those that aren't used to big riding, how to do long rides. And then in a couple of weeks' time, end of May, I'll do a second video specifically about the club's plans for the 200-mile and 100-mile ride at the end of June. And hopefully that'll give you confidence that this is a thing that you might be able to take on. And having said that, let's make a start. What is endurance riding? It has to be said that for a lot of people in bike clubs, the challenge is about power and speed. But for other people, the challenge is more about distance. How far can you go in a day? An endurance ride could be typically from 70 up to 200 miles. Yeah, you can want to do, say, a century ride like the London Sportive, as fast as you can for that distance. But for other people, there's also the pleasure, the recreational side of doing a big distance and taking time to enjoy the scenery and the social life and the food. This talk is more about that recreational, taking time to enjoy it sort of riding. But if you want to do a sportive, there might be things, what I'm going to say, which are relevant to you as well, if you want to do distance at a good time. For distance endurance riding, it's mostly about pacing, going at the right speed at the right time to last the distance. And the important factor is also nutrition, eating and drinking correctly to fuel your body. Then it's a bit about the bike, matching the bike to the terrain you're going to be riding on, and a bit about, if you're planning the route yourself, can you plan the route to be kind to yourself and not make it difficult? Let's start off talking about pacing. There's various pacing zones commonly talked about in cycling. If you've got a power meter or a heart rate meter, you know all about these, or if you do it in coaching. There's various ways of describing how hard your body is working on a bike. And this 5-zone pattern is quite common. 5 zones: easy, endurance, tempo, threshold, and red line. And to explain what they are, easy. Endurance is what you want to be doing on endurance rides. A level you're still able to talk normally while you're riding along without panting heavily, a social ride pace. Tempo is getting a bit faster, beginning to pant a bit, but you can still talk in short sentences. It's the sort of pace you might do on a Saturday morning, get it out of the way ride, or in a pace line. You know you're working a bit harder, you know you're working, but it's a pace you can still do for an hour or two without blowing up. Threshold is when you are putting in the effort. On a club ride, it's going up a hill, Wiley Hill or Dean Hill. You can hardly talk, breathing hard, and you can't do this for more than sort of 10-15 minutes at a time, maximum an hour. Then red line is a flat out sprint, 10-15 seconds, and you're done. The important thing to notice is that the body is a hybrid, and it fuels itself in different ways depending on what zone, what effort you're doing. If your body is in the easy or endurance effort level or zone, the body will burn fat, and its fuel, fat's taken to the muscles, and they burn fat as a fuel to get you going. But if you go faster or use more effort, more power in the body, that fat burning system or engine isn't quite powerful enough, and you start to use a different fuel in addition. You start to burn carbs, specifically a carb called glycogen, which is stored in the muscles and in the liver, and it's taken to the muscles to use. Tempo, you might burn half fat, half carbs. And then as you get into the threshold, you're still burning fat, but predominantly you are burning the glycogen to get the maximum power into your body to go up the hills, and the red line carbs as well. And the key thing to note is that even if you are a 7-stone racing snake, there is enough fat in your body to keep you going for days. But if you're going fast, say at threshold pace, there's only enough carbs in your body to fuel you for 1 or 2 hours, and that's it. And if you have burnt up all the carbs, you hit the wall, you bonk, and you come to a catastrophic stop. And that's what the pacing is all about, just trying to match your pacing to the fuel so you don't run out of energy, you don't hit the wall. So having talked about the theory, let's show it on a few different sorts of club rides. Typical club ride, you might have a mix of different paces. You start off going out from the club, social pace, chatting to your mates. Then you hit a hill, threshold pace, working harder. And on the way back, you get into a bit of a pace line to come back fast down the Wiley Valley. 45 minutes in all the different zones, but total club ride is about 2.5 hours. And so no issues about running out of fuel. And that's a normal club ride, a mix of zones. Cyclocross, it's not a mix of zones. You're flat out the whole time, threshold pace all the way around, with a bit of red line. But the total ride is under an hour. Again, not a problem. You don't run out of carbs. But what about, say, a fast sportive? You're doing the Ride London and you want to do 100 miles, 5 or 6 hours, as fast as you can. Endurance isn't fast enough, so you're in tempo pace, and it's a tightrope, going fast enough to get a good time. But the faster that you go, the faster you burn through the carbs. And can you eke out those carbs to last you for 4, 5 or 6 hours? And it's the tightrope. Go too fast, you'll bonk. Go too slow, you won't get a good time. So you say to yourself, well, can I actually have gels? Can I have bars? Can I force glucose down my neck to replace the glucose I'm burning, the glycogen? And you can to a certain extent. The key thing to learn is that you can't replace all of it. If you're going along at a fast pace, say 150, 200 watts, that's about 150, 200 grams of carbs per hour, but you can only absorb 60 to 80 grams of carbs per hour without throwing up. Well, and that's all you can do. So no matter how many gels you force down your neck, you'll only replace at the most half of what you're burning. And that's the issue with these fast sportives, is that they're a game of chess, matching the speed, what you eat, what you drink, how fast you go to get to the distance without blowing up. So let's talk about then longer endurance rides, where you are going out from, let's say, longer, excuse me, than 6 hours. And then fairly obviously, you need to drop down to the endurance zone, zone 2, fat burning. And this is the secret to endurance riding. If you're going out for more than, say, 6 hours, a 70-mile social ride, you need to go at the right pace to stay in the fat burning zone. You can stray up into the tempo or threshold at times if you're punching into a headwind for an hour or going up the odd steep hill, but you can't do it too much. And for most of the ride, if you stay in the fat burning zone 2, then you'll be fine. It sounds easy, but it's not. And there's a catch, and the catch is psychological. Let's go back to that club ride session. A club ride typically is a mix of flat riding social, but also going up and down hills at a power. And we go up and down hills at a power because we enjoy it. As club riders, it's like Pavlov's dogs. We are conditioned to come to a hill and to speed up. Partly because we enjoy the challenge. It feels good to sprint up a hill. You get the endorphins from getting to the top. And you want to challenge yourself. to go up the hill faster than last time, or to go up the hill faster than somebody else. And it's that conditioning. You get on the endurance ride, you get to a hill, and without thinking about it, you go faster, you put the power on. And that's exactly what you should be doing for a club ride to enjoy it. It's exactly what you should not be doing if you get onto an endurance ride. And so that's the secret. You need to do the endurance ride, but then continually monitor yourself and say, am I going too fast? If I get to a little rise, do I not stand the pedals and sprint up? Do I just sit down, click down 2 gears and spin up at low power? And it's, if you can get that control, you'll be fine. If you forget yourself and keep putting on the power every time you get to a hill, you might have problems. So how do you tell what zone you're in? If you've got a heart rate monitor or a power meter, I've not got time to talk about those today, but they are calibrated. It can be difficult to calibrate accurately. It's a skill you need to work at, but zone 2 on a heart rate monitor is zone 2. If you've got a power meter, then this endurance zone would be zone 2 to 3 in a typical 7-zone system. But what I will say is that there is a third way of telling, which is better and likely more accurate than your heart rate monitor or your power meter, which is the torque test. And even pro riders going out on doing their training rides at zone 2 are taught this and taught to rely on this, and it's a torque test. If you can hold a normal conversation without panting, you are in zone 2. And if you go up and just at the stage where you are starting to pant a bit with a normal conversation, then you're moving out of zone 2 into that tempo zone. And that is a reliable test that the pros use. And so use it yourself. Can you chat to your mate on the bike? If you're by yourself, just count to 20 out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, or recite a nursery rhyme and say, can I do this breathing normally, or am I panting too much? And that is your test for leaving zone 2, going into the tempo zone. So that is pacing. If you can stop going too fast up the hills on your endurance ride, you'll be fine. The secret is being able to monitor yourself so that your Pavlovian conditioning of speeding up on a hill gets turned down, and you sit down and spin up at a low power instead. Moving on then, let's talk about food and how to pace you, how to eat yourself when you go. On the endurance ride, you're out all day, and so the odd slice of cake won't hack it. So firstly, what I would say is eat proper food and think about small meals, not just snacks, carbs, protein and fat, and take time to enjoy it. On a long ride, psychologically stopping for a meal, having a chat with your mates and enjoying the food is good for you. It's satisfying. It's something to look forward to, and it breaks up the day into breakfast, lunch, tea time, and marks the way forward. And also there are some fantastic cafes around Salisbury and Wiltshire, and so it's part of the pleasure of endurance riding to enjoy the food. And then you can top up what you eat at the meals on the bike with whatever works for you: gels, energy drinks, bars. And how much of this you need depends on how hard the riding is. If you know you're going to an easy ride, you're not working hard, you may not need much. But if you think, oh, I'm working harder than I want to, this course is a bit hillier than I thought, or you're punching into a hard wind for an hour or two, and you can't avoid going up into zone 3, the tempo zone, then perhaps you might want to top up on gels or energy drinks. I might want to stop off at the garage and buy some cans of Coke and a bag of donuts just to top up your carbs. Just to give an example of this, if like a real time, this is my Garmin set up to show me my zones when I go for my own long rides. If you look at this, Heart rate zone 2, 5 hours. You can see it on the graph alongside. Heart rate zone 3, 58 minutes. Heart rate zone 4 threshold, 4 minutes. That's fine. That's how it should be. Mostly endurance, but a bit of time going up the hill, or just punching into a wind, which is pushing me into threshold, but only for a few minutes, so I'm fine. Then this one, heart rate zone 2, 4 hours, fine. But heart rate zone 3, 2 hours, and threshold zone 4, 1 hour. Clearly, I am standing into danger. And if this happens, and it can happen on rides, of course, the conditions change. The secret is to notice that and say, I'm going too far, too fast. Can I slow down? Or if I can't slow down, can I stop and find some food to fuel my body? Otherwise, if I don't, it's going to have problems. And it's monitoring yourself with a heart rate meter if you've got one. But if you haven't got a heart rate meter, don't worry. Just monitor yourself with your breathing. Am I panting a lot for a long time? Is this a problem? Or am I breathing normally and chatting and I'm fine? That's how you pace yourself. So if pacing and nutrition are the two important things, the two other things to talk about. Firstly, planning a route. If you're planning a route for yourself, and you can work out for these pacing zones, flat distance is easy, and that's what you go for if you can. Gentle hills are okay. Hills you can sit down, spin up, and again stay in the endurance pace or a bit of tempo at times. What are the problems are steep hills that throw you into threshold, especially if you do it again and again. And that's what you need to avoid if you can. Can you avoid them? If you can't avoid them, perhaps is your bike set up correctly? Do you need a bigger set of gears, a grander gear on the back for this particular ride? Or if you have to do it and you can't change the bike, then are you eating enough? Are you forcing enough carbs down your neck to keep you fueled? What I will say is that the 200 mile and the 100-mile ride planned by SRAM, they are planned with this in mind. 200 miles, about 100 miles of which is flat, and there is only one steep hill, and that steep hill is less steep than the Wiley Hill or Fovant or Dean Hill. So if you can get up the local climbs around Salisbury, you'll get up the one steep climb on the 200-mile ride. And then finally, I'm going to talk a bit about bike and gears. Just to emphasize, for the 200-mile ride, whatever bike you bring within reason will work. You don't have to buy any new gear for this. So we'll talk a bit about gear. If you want to, perhaps you spend a bit of money to optimize a bike for doing endurance riding. Or if you're not doing the 200-mile ride, but thinking about doing endurance rides later on, these are things to think about to optimize your bike if you want to. Firstly, gearing. Can you get up the hills without blowing up? And if you can't, don't be afraid to swap out the gears on your bike. It's not difficult and it needn't be expensive. Most bikes for endurance rides are sold with a front chainring, compact 5034. There's all about numbers. And for that, for sort of club riding around Wiltshire, what works well, I would say, unless you want to go fast and get into really fast riding, would be an 1134 at the back. So you get a nice gear ratio to get you up the hills. But if you find that you're doing your club riding around Salisbury and you really struggle to get up the hills, and you want to make it easier for yourself, to make it more enjoyable, you can change the gears on your bike fairly easily with a bit of advice from one of the local mechanics. You can put a bigger cassette on the back. SRAM do an 11 to 36, or it's not difficult to put a mountain bike 11 to 40 on the back if you want to. And the SRAM medium cage, sorry, this Shimano medium cage Ultegra type rear mech will work quite happily on the 11 to 40. Or what I've done, I've got a subcompact front chainring 46 to 30 rather than 50 34, which gives me a lower gear and it's fast enough for what I want. So if you struggle on the hills, don't sit with it and break your body the whole time. Think about changing the gears if you want to. It's not difficult. Secondly, tyres. A lot has changed about tyres in the last few years, and people are beginning to realise that bigger tyres are better and faster. Most of the big monuments this spring in Belgium and France were run on 30 to 32 millimeter tyres, and they're optimum for this sort of riding if they fit on your bike. If they don't, 25 or 28 are fine. If you can, I'd recommend getting some bigger tyres. Other slicks, but what a lot of club endurance riders use are slightly knobbly ones. These are Pan Racer Gravel King, which I love, which means that if you hit a bit of gravel, or if you want to take a quick detour onto a bridle path, you can do. And because of the way they're designed, they're not much slower than slicks, and they're pretty tough tyres. So if you're going to make any one change to your bike for endurance riding, the best investment is probably going to be a good set of tyres to make it more comfortable for you. The final thing to think about for your bike and your gear is being aero. Even for an endurance rider going relatively slowly, being aero is your friend. And if you think about being aero, it's not just your bike, but it's your body. Now, your body has a bigger frontal mass than the bike. And so what you do to your body has a big effect. Can you slam the stem a bit to get your body a bit lower? Have you got tight like a clothing, which is aero, or a big flappy jacket like a sail, which slows you down massively? And people say, I'm not going fast. Surely being aero is only for the fast guys who are racing. I'm only going at 40 miles an hour. Aero doesn't affect me. But this again is where the counterintuitive bit comes in. It's a bit like a few years ago, people said that, oh, big tyres, 30 mils are faster than smaller tyres are 25. On aero, the slower you go, counterintuitively, the more benefit you get. Yes, if you go slowly, 40 miles an hour, you get less aero benefit than somebody going at 25, but it takes you longer to complete the course. And overall, during the computational mathematics, they worked out that if you go slowly, you get more benefit overall doing the same distance than if you go faster. And if you do endurance riding and doing a long distance, then even a small aero benefit will have a massive effect over the course of the day. So do think about aero benefit, even if your average speed is only 13, 14, 15, 16 miles per hour. Small benefits, marginal gains will add up over the course of a century plus ride, over sort of 10, 12, 15 hours. I won't talk much about the specifics, the details of being aero. I will just talk about one thing, which is interesting. I think there's new research coming out, which is about bike bags. Gravel racing in the States is now a big thing, unbanged, 200 miles on gravel, unsupported. And so they had to do a lot of research on what is the most effective way of carrying nutrition and hydration on a fast racing bike. And again, counterintuitively, a bike with bike bags can be faster than the bare naked frame. This bike, so Specialized Roubaix, which is my endurance bike, I bought it to get the aero benefits of even a slow speed, but all day riding. If I took those bike bags off, it's quite likely that the bike would be less aero and slower than the bike with the bags. If you look at, say, a motorbike frame, you see the fairings smooth the flow over the frame. There's a great big sort of tail at the back to smooth the airflow at the back of the bike. And they think the same effect is happening on bike frames. So the bike on the left has some aero improvements over a naked frame. It's quite likely the bike on the right with a much bigger bike pack, as a camping bike pack, maybe even faster still. So don't worry about carrying stuff on a bike. As long as you're fairly sensible with the design of the bike bags you use, it certainly won't slow you down. They may even make you faster. What I would say is that the bike on the right has got a handlebar bag, which I won't use nowadays. The research clearly shows that whilst bags on the frame at the back are good, handlebar bags can be catastrophic for airflow, and I choose to avoid them myself, which is a pity. They're very convenient, but they're not good for airflow. The same applies for carrying water. We know that water bottles aren't good for airflow around the bike. What they have found is that hydration packs act like a fairing on your back. If you carry a rucksack type hydration pack, if it's fairly well designed, that also would act like a fairing. And carrying a hydration pack can be more aero and ease the drag over the back than having nothing at all on your back. So if you're concerned about aero for long rides, then hydration pack, if you don't mind carrying a rucksack, can be better than water bottles. Hydration packs can make you faster than no pack at all. Even they found if you take an empty water bottle and put it in the center pocket of your jersey at the back, that is faster than empty pockets. Strange, counterintuitive, but that's the research they're finding, which you might find interesting and helpful. Whether you want to do a fast endurance ride or a slow one, it still counts. Well, that's it. That's all I want to say. Hopefully some of you found this interesting, and hopefully some of you are beginning to think, well, perhaps I might be able to take on this 100-mile ride or 200-mile ride or do some endurance riding for myself later in the year, because that's what I'm hoping to encourage you to do. Before the end of May, I'll put out a second video specifically about the club's 100 and 200-mile routes. So again, you get some more data as to what is planned, and you get a chance to assess whether you think you can take this on. Hopefully, once you've seen the route, you'll be reassured they've been carefully planned with the principles I've outlined in this video. So it's a thing you can take on. It's a route that will keep you in endurance. It'll keep you out of threshold as long as you're careful with the pacing. Not too many steep climbs, and it is a thing that's quite feasible for a lot of club riders to think about taking on. In the description below this YouTube page, I'll put a few links to some YouTube videos about the recent research and wind tunnel tests on bike bags and bike packing and hydration backpacks, if you are interested in that. And I would encourage you, it's interesting stuff. And a couple of links to a couple of bits of kit, like slightly bigger seat packs, which you might find useful to buy if you want to fit a slightly bigger bag to your bike to carry more gear. And as you now know, you can carry more gear without any airway penalty. If you've got any questions, then either put them in the YouTube description below this page, message me on the club Facebook page, or just chat to me on Any Bike Ride, and I'll be happy to help. I hope that's been useful. Bye.